With Robinhood, not only can you trade individual stocks and ETFs, you can also seamlessly buy and sell crypto at low costs. Trade all in one place. Get started now on Robinhood. Trading crypto involves significant risk. Crypto trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. Crypto held through Robinhood Crypto is not FDIC insured or SIPC protected. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.
Well, hello, my lovely people. Welcome back to the Patience to Prosperity podcast. I'm Lizzie if you're new here. We like to have some fun here. Honestly, whatever comes up in my head is going to come through this mic. And I'm really honing into that today because I felt called to this mic, not really sure what is bound to come out, but you read that title and felt drawn to this episode. So I'm sure there's going to be some good little nuggets that really resonate with you in here. And what a beautiful thing that is that we're all going through such a pivotal and resonant timeline right now. Like, we are so aligned. If you're listening to this, we're so aligned. And I'm just so grateful to have you here. I love this beautiful little community that we're creating, but I won't bore you too much by talking about how grateful I am for 30 minutes. So we're just going to jump right into things. The download that hit me today that called me to sit down on this mic was that sometimes when you are in places where you don't belong, in places where you've outgrown people, you feel like you are too much, right? Like your intellect, the deep way that you think of things might be too much for that collective. And then it's weird because the places where you actually do belong and you get a lot of fulfillment from, you might find yourself feeling insufficient for. You might think, oh, I'm not smart enough to be here, or I don't have enough to add to this conversation. But it's funny because you sort of toe this line between being challenged in one area that makes you feel insufficient kind of on a deeper introspective level. And then on the other half, you feel honestly like you've just outgrown people and you're kind of just settling in somewhere that feels comfortable, but that you don't necessarily gain anything from. I was thinking about this while I was sitting in a philosophy class this morning, because I'll have so many thoughts in this class where I'm challenging my own thoughts, right? I'm really sitting with them and, I'm becoming curious with all the arguments of the philosophers that come up in this class. And there will be people in my class who ask really introspective, deep questions. And I'll think about my question and I'll be like, but maybe that's a dumb question that already has an answer that he already said in just a smarter way that I didn't understand. Or I'll just try to double back it, And in that process, I'm doubting my own curiosity. And I think that's going to be a big theme of this episode because curiosity, I'm learning, is the biggest tool to really unlocking the deeper parts of yourself that have always been there all along. And sometimes you'll find that it's almost uncomfortable when you start to align with who you truly are because you have never been so fully yourself before. I'm starting to learn who I am without my limiting beliefs, without my doubts and fears, without energy-sucking vampires in my life, without that negative train of thoughts that tries to shrink me and put me into boxes. I'm starting to fully learn who I am without all of those things. And it's honestly been a very confusing time period for me just in these past few weeks, because I think I've always assumed that when you feel aligned, you're going to feel the most at peace and you're going to feel the most purpose that you've ever felt. But right now I feel like I can literally feel myself aligning, and it's making me more uncomfortable because I've never reached that state before. And it's obviously pushing me out of my comfort zone for that reason, But it's interesting how we just assume that when you're aligning with your highest self, it's going to be so smooth and peaceful and purposeful. So when it doesn't feel that way, you start to question things, right? And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think that's actually part of the process. You are meant to question things because that's where your curiosity comes into play. So going back to that download that I mentioned where I was kind of talking about, you don't belong in these places where you feel like you're too much and you think too deeply about things for those conversations that come up with a certain collective. It's hard because I feel like I can argue two contradicting things. I can argue that you can be friends with people who you can't be super introspective with, and you can't necessarily get super deep with, and it's more kind of surface level conversation. It's all fun and lighthearted, right? But then I'd also argue if that's who you are, you can't necessarily be friends with people who can't meet you on that level, right? Because I always say that people are meant to meet you where you are. You are not meant to meet them where they are. And I truly believe that. I really, really do, because if you're always trying to meet people where they are, you are always compromising a part of yourself, right? You're shrinking a part of yourself to try to fit in or meet them at their level, which is not necessarily below you, but it might just not align with you, you know? So the key there is not to put yourself on a pedestal, but it's to understand that certain people are just not going to align with you, and that's okay. That doesn't make them better or worse than you. It just means that you are on a different path than they are. And that's not to say that you guys couldn't meet somewhere in the middle, maybe down the line, but right now, you shouldn't feel guilty about putting more energy into yourself, because ultimately, the most important relationship you'll ever have with anyone in your life is with yourself. And you know that. So, moving forward with that thought, I'm speaking from my own set of thoughts right now, and this is my own subjective experience, but I feel like it needs to come out. I'm just starting to really hone in on what I align with, right? Like, I can feel it in my bones when something is meant for me and when it's not. And when I'm just settling for something because it's comfortable, the times where I'm just being myself in those environments, I feel like I'm not appreciated enough. I feel like my ideas are not supported as much as I guess initially wanted them to or intended them to be. And it makes me feel unappreciated, or underappreciated, I should say. I've been having this reoccurring thought that keeps coming back to me, that's somewhere along the lines of my absence is more felt than my presence is. So I almost feel like my presence is underappreciated, and my absence is sort of that energy that makes up for it. So when I'm not with people, I feel the love more than when I'm with them sometimes. You know? And that can make you feel really isolated and alone in life when you have relationships that you feel more appreciated in when you are not with them. Like, the people who are really meant for you should make you feel so special and worthy of every single ounce of love that they give you every single time you're with them, not just when you're apart from them. And I honestly think that that is a deeper rooted issue in today's society that is not addressed upon enough. And I think it has a huge link to social media and the fact that, we're always commenting on each other's posts and seeing what each other's life is apart from who we are together with those people. You'll see your friend posting on Instagram and immediately you run to the comments and you're like, oh, I miss you so much. These are so cute, whatever. And it's like you're trying to falsely connect with them in a way. And that's not to say that, like, you can't comment on someone's post, whatever you want to comment. Like, I still do that, and I love doing that because to me, it's more of a form of recognition. Like, I'm just giving them recognition that I saw their post and I loved it and I love them and I'm going to support everything that they put out, But it's not connection. It's not connection on the humanistic form that we were put on this earth to integrate and to indulge in. It is not the same form of connection. And I don't know, that might have been a little bit of a tangent, but I think it's clear through this kind of train of thoughts that I'm going down right now that I feel a little bit out of alignment with certain things. And I think it's because certain parts of me are aligning. So certain values that I have, certain beliefs that I have, or morals that I have are sort of changing. And maybe it's not morals, because I guess your morals are kind of just like solidified. But like, you also should be questioning your morals, I truly believe, because it is a little bit hazy to tell yourself that you know what's best for the world and for yourself. Like, you should still be questioning those beliefs, because even if it's not going to change your mind on those morals and those beliefs, it will solidify them deeper, and it will maybe bring you to a new train of thought that allows a whole new sense of morality and introspection into your life for you to dive into. Because when you get so complacent with the things that you believe, I think you start to get almost like bored with it or too complacent with it. And when you get bored with it and you're not meeting it with curiosity, you start to doubt things, and you start to sort of not stand on them as much. Like, when you get bored with it, you don't care about it as much. And that eliminates an element of passion from your beliefs that I think is necessary in order for you to actually move forward with them and create something from them. Even if that's just creating a part of yourself or discovering a part of yourself deeper. Lately, I've just been living by the message of enjoying being while becoming. And if you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, you've probably seen me say that countless amount of times now. Because I truly think that it's such a powerful message, but it's also so mundane at the same time. And that to me just proves how much power there is in simplicity, and how much you discredit your own beliefs, opinions, thoughts, and morals just because maybe you're not phrasing it in a way that hasn't been done before. Maybe you're not phrasing all the messages that you want to put out into the world in a way that is completely new and completely out of the realm of what's been already put out there. But I know that if you're listening to this still, you understand that it is new, it is introspective, and it is enlightening and something different because it's coming from you. And no one is you. So no one's going to be able to frame your thoughts in the way that you do and put out the messages that you have in the way that you do, because no one is you, and that is your superpower. But since no one is you, I feel like it's really easy to tiptoe that line of empowerment because no one is you, and then the other side of fear and doubt because no one has those thoughts. And it's scary to put those thoughts out there, maybe because you're like, oh, maybe there's a reason why no one has thought of it this way, because it's wrong. But then you go down this line where you're like, okay, no, I'm meant to be more empowered by this. Let me just put it out anyways. But the thing is, you questioned it first. You questioned the validity of it. You questioned the power that it holds. You questioned the insight that it holds. And since you went into it questioning it and then double backed on it and just put it out there anyways to be consistent or to, just prove yourself different, you almost tainted the entire energy and frequency that it was created in altogether. You created that thing with confidence. You created that thing with pure innovation and pure soul. Like, that came from your soul when it spoke out to you, right? So now for you to create that and be like, oh, but if it doesn't get received in this way, it must be wrong. You're not trusting in your own insight and your own power, because the thing is, no matter how you word something or say something and put it out into the world, people are always going to perceive it however they perceive it based on where they are, you know? So even if you're saying it as clearly as you possibly can, someone is going to take it in a different direction. And that might be a completely different direction than you ever thought of. And that doesn't mean that it's negative. You have to let go of the idea that if someone perceives something differently than you ultimately intended when you put it out there, that it's automatically negative. Just because it's different doesn't mean it's wrong. And sometimes the different directions that our thoughts are taken into actually expand upon our knowledge on that thing and lead us down to an even more enlightening path that brings us closer to ourselves in the process. And that's the beautiful thing about creation, is that every single time you create something in the world, whether it's been done before, whether it's been said before, whether it has been sent out in a million different messages that all surround the same theme that you're moving into, you are part of the conversation. There is a conversation that is always happening in the creative field that we are all a part of, that we just don't necessarily always realize we're a part of. And every single time that you choose to put your thoughts out there and your creations out there, you are a part of that ongoing conversation, and you're opening up that conversation for other people to converse with you. And isn't that just so dang beautiful? Like, I just love humanity. I just really do love humanity. I really just feel like there is so much power in saying something that has already been said before. And I think that's a lost art. We think that we have to be enlightening people through the lens of saying something brand new that no one has ever thought of before in order for it to be enlightening. And then those times where it doesn't reach the collective that we want it to reach, or it doesn't do as well as we thought it was going to do, it's not received in the light that we thought it was going to be, we start to doubt ourself and our own introspection and our own thoughts and beliefs. But the truth of the matter is that we are not supposed to be creating to enlighten. We're supposed to be creating to release things. So every single time that you have this certain thought that you feel is enlightening to you, go ahead and release that into the world, because that's your way of just getting it out there and making it a part of the conversation. Woo! I feel like I'm in my flow state right now on this mic, which kind of leads me to the next thing I want to talk about, which is intuition. And if you've been listening to my past few episodes, you probably are sick of hearing me talk about intuition by now. But obviously, it's a very key theme of my life right now, because I feel like this whole fucking summer, to be honest, was just teaching me to follow my intuition without questioning it first. And that is such a powerful lesson to learn. And it's one that I think that we constantly have to be relearning, because we get so stuck in just like the daily challenges of life that we sort of separate ourselves from our intuition, and we look at our intuition as something that is separate from us. When in reality, your intuition is who you truly are inside. Your intuition is your connection to a higher power. And that higher power, if we believe in one, it is all knowing. It knows more than we do. It knows the why behind things that we only know the how to. Or maybe not at all. Maybe we just feel the pull and we don't know why or how, you know? And that's what's so powerful about it, is that when you follow your intuition without questioning it first, and you get messages from it, you learn lessons from it, and you feel like you're leveling up because you followed it, that is mirroring to you the power that you have in yourself. So your intuition, I feel like, when we get so caught up in the whole talk of higher powers, it's really easy to separate yourself from that higher power and to be like, oh, they're all knowing and I'm not, right? Like, kind of like I just said, to be honest. But that's why I brought it up, is because I want to clarify something here. I think religion kind of gets it all wrong when it tries to tell you to worship in something outside of yourself. And of course, this is just my own thoughts and beliefs, so take this with a grain of salt. But I think the power in your intuition is to actually view yourself and a higher power as one. Like you feel that higher power working through you and with you when you trust that intuition, because you're using your own mind and your own physical body that you were gifted in order to follow whatever intuitive thought came to you. But where did that thought come from, right? Where did it come from? That's where you tiptoe that line where you're like, huh, that's weird. Yesterday I wouldn't have thought about this way, but I guess for some reason I'm feeling called to do this new thing that I've never done before, even though I've done it the same way for 3 years now? And then that one time that you do it differently, you're like, huh, I've never thought of it this way, or I've never gotten to this realm before. And you feel like you're evolving through it because you're trusting, because you are letting that fear subside and you're stepping outside of your comfort zone without even realizing that you're doing it, because you're just following it without questioning it, you know? So I think there's something really powerful in the idea of viewing yourself and spirit as one, not separating yourself from a higher power and looking up at them as this just omnipotent, all knowing thing, but also realizing that all of that is within you. And it's just calling to you to tap into it more, to get those answers from yourself by being more curious with your thoughts, by not viewing everything as certain, not viewing everything as the truth, and becoming comfortable with uncertainty, with the unknown, and actually reframing your relationship with the unknown as something that is rooted in trust instead of fear. You don't have to always view things that you don't know the answers to as something that's scary. You're just viewing it that way because you're doubting your own ability to withstand it or to power through it. You're doubting your own capability. And why? Because the evidence that you have in your life is that you have gotten through every single thing you thought that you would never get through. That's your evidence. So why are we so quick to think that we are not capable of coming up on the other side of things? Just because it's unfamiliar to us and just because there's a level of uncertainty in it. Because, by the way, there is a level of uncertainty in everything in life. Like, we really can't be sure about anything. We really can't. There's always a opposing argument to things. If you really want to go there, like there is always an opposing argument. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong, because your argument isn't right or wrong? And that's why I'm bringing up intuition, because your intuition is not always going to be based on logic. And most of the times it's not logic. It is a feeling. It is a knowing that can't be explained by logic, but only by a sensual feeling or a ultimate protection or guiding meditation, like it's not always going to feel rational. So you have to drop that belief that every single intuitive thought that you have has to be rooted in some sort of logic, or else it's too risky to follow it through and to just put all your eggs in one basket? I think that's all I got for you guys today. I actually really loved that episode, and I feel like I got a lot from it, to be honest. Like, I just love this podcast because it feels like we're so in it together. Like, I'm sitting here and you guys are probably listening to this and being like, damn, she really thought that through. No, actually, I sat on this mic today not knowing what the fuck I was going to talk about, and guess what? I feel more clear about the things that I have been going through lately because of it. And I want you to take that wherever it resonates for you, but especially in the element of surprise that is being called out to you right now in your life. I want you to say yes to things more that scare you. I want you to say no to things more that you feel are not in alignment with you, that it's not serving you in a way that is moving you closer to the deeper parts of yourself, but rather distracting you. And that's also been a big theme of my life lately is I feel like I've just been viewing roadblocks or little obstacles down the road as distractions away from who I truly am and what I'm meant to be doing and all that stuff. But the truth of the matter is that there is a lesson to be learned in every single action that you take. So it's even in the most mundane things. Like, for example, you're being called to go and get a milkshake with your best friend one night, but you feel like you're self abandoning yourself because it's not aligning with your fitness goals that you have right now. Or even just the idea that maybe you make it a big habit to set your nights as a solo kind of solitude mission for yourself to just come back home to yourself at night, right? But you're feeling called to go get a milkshake. And you're like, oh, wait, I feel like that is self abandonment. I feel like I'm going against my values by doing that. But then you go and you get that milkshake and you meet a new person through it. Or, you have a conversation with your best friend that you weren't expecting to have that now put you down a new path that you would have never expected before. You have to let that element of surprise into your life, and it comes with questioning who you are and what is in alignment with you a lot, because sometimes what is in alignment with you is going to feel like self-abandonment solely because it's not the way that you're used to approaching things. And when you're learning to trust your intuition for the first time without doubting it first, it is a different way of approaching life in the fullest. It's a different way of approaching life. So it's going to make you question whether or not you are aligning with yourself. So become curious with that curiosity. Like, just keep asking why to get to the root of things. And if you never get to that root of things, it doesn't mean that it's wrong or that you're wrong. It just means that there's more to learn in that lesson. And that is the beautiful thing about life, is that we can just constantly keep asking ourselves why. And maybe we'll never get to those answers. But I feel like there's an element of self love that can come from understanding that we think about things so deeply and we have such a love of understanding and knowing that we will never be complacent with not knowing. Like, find the element of self love in that, because that's just what makes you who you are. And that's what makes you so introspective and smart and kind and understanding and compassionate. You're just so beautiful and courageous, and you don't give yourself enough credit for it. So if me sitting on this mic every now and then is what's going to pull you back closer to yourself, then I am so incredibly grateful to be that guiding force for you. And always feel like you can reach out to me, whether it be on Instagram, on TikTok, whatever it might be. Always feel like you can reach out to me privately or in my comment sections about anything. And I would love to have deeper conversations with you on a personal level or whatever level that you want to meet me with. I'm totally there for you guys, and we're in this together. Never forget that. This space was created so that we have a community that we feel we can lean on. And I love what we're creating here. And if you're feeling called to help me build this community, I would really appreciate if you had the time or the energy to leave a review or a rating on this podcast, either on Apple Pod, Spotify, wherever you're listening, because it really just helps me reach like-minded people just like you and build our beautiful community brick by brick. You're all such a pivotal part of this community, and I hope that you understand that. Like, every single follower that I get, every single like that I get on my videos or download I get on my episodes, like, you are such a pivotal building block to this platform. And I hope you really understand that and you tap into your power that you have in creating something outside of yourself. Because, like I said, we're all a part of the conversation. And if you're listening, you're still a part of the conversation. I just have so much love for you guys, and I can talk for hours about how grateful I am for everything that you've brought into my life. So thank you. And I hope that you treat yourself with the same love and compassion that I so deeply hope to give to you in every episode. And that's all I got. Until next time, as always, come as you are and leave a little more healed. Mwah!
Yay!